Welcome to the Explainer. So, you're managing a garden, a farm, or maybe just a modest veggie patch. You know that absolute frustration of pouring all your time and energy into cultivation, only to watch your plants just mysteriously decline? Well, today we're going to solve the mystery of why those seemingly healthy crops might suddenly be taking a turn for the worse. We're breaking down the source material on a very specific and, honestly, very destructive agricultural pest.
You see, we're looking at a classic whodunit in the garden today. You walk out to your fields, right, and everything looked incredibly vibrant and healthy just days ago. But today, the leaves are scorching, and the shoots look like they are literally starving for nutrients. The culprit behind this is tiny, highly deceptive, and capable of massive devastation. So what is actually happening out there?
To figure that out, here is our roadmap for the day. We're going to unmask this pest and then build out an escalating three-tiered defense strategy to save your yields. First, the crop culprit revealed. Second, recognizing hidden plant damage. Third, cultural prevention tactics. Fourth, biological control options. And finally, targeted chemical treatments.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the crop culprit, identifying the threat. Let's find out exactly who we're up against in the field. Meet our culprit up close. This is the green leaf hopper, or GLH for short. As you can guess, its vibrant green body acts as the perfect camouflage against stems and foliage. But please, do not let its small, unassuming appearance fool you for a second. This pest goes after a surprisingly wide variety of your harvest, making it a universal threat across all different types of cultivation.
Now, if you're sitting there wondering whether your specific garden is at risk, let's run through their menu. The green leaf hopper really isn't a picky eater. If you're growing common veggies like tomatoes, chilies, eggplants, or potatoes, you're a target. If your fields are full of legumes like yard-long beans or mung beans, yep, a target. And if you cultivate climbing vines, cucumbers, wax gourds, or pumpkins, unfortunately, those are squarely in the crosshairs too.
Moving right along to Section 2, recognizing plant damage, signs of infestation. Now that we've got our prime suspect, let's learn how to actually read the crime scene. You might initially look at your field and think, hey, my plants just need some fertilizer. But it's crazy how GLH infestations create spots that perfectly mimic a nutrient deficiency. It's honestly a masterclass in agricultural misdirection. An untrained eye sees these white, yellow, or red spots and immediately assumes the soil is lacking essential minerals. But here's the kicker. Treating the soil won't fix a thing. Those spots are actually the physical evidence of the hopper actively feeding on your crops.
And if you don't catch that mimicry early on, you're going to see classic hopper burn. As the damage progresses, the edges of your previously healthy green leaves turn this sickly yellow. Then they begin to warp, curling upward toward the sky, eventually browning until they look completely scorched and burnt to a crisp. This right here is the absolute hallmark visual of a severe GLH attack. And because these guys are actively sucking the sap right out of the plant, your vulnerable new shoots will unfortunately become completely stunted and deformed. I mean, the hopper is literally draining the lifeblood of the plant. Without that vital sap, the plant simply cannot sustain its natural growth trajectory. The whole architecture of the plant distorts, and as a result, your crop yields are going to be severely compromised.
So how do we stop them? Let's transition into our solutions with Section 3, cultural prevention, protecting your fields. This is going to be your Tier 1 defense. Before resorting to any harsher measures, you can proactively defend your landscape with a couple of key steps. Step 1, rotate your crops with corn. Step 2, plant sugarcane trap crops right around the field perimeter. This is all about smart field management. By rotating your usual vegetables or legumes with a crop like corn, you completely disrupt the leafhopper's feeding and breeding cycle. And that perimeter of sugarcane, it acts as a brilliant trap. The hoppers are naturally drawn to the sugarcane on the edges of your property, which keeps them safely away from your primary high-value harvest right in the center. But if proactive prevention isn't quite enough to keep the population down, we need to step up our response. That brings us to Section 4, biological controls, nature's defense. It turns out nature actually provides its own weaponry against the GLH, like neem extract, specifically the active compound azadirachtin. This is a truly fantastic option for those of you looking to maintain an organic approach to pest management. Azadirachtin acts as a powerful disruptor to the insect's life cycle and feeding habits. It naturally mitigates the threat, and you don't even have to introduce any synthetic chemicals to your crops. Another amazing biological option is deploying Beauveria bassiana.
Now, this is a helpful nature-based fungus utilized specifically to control pest populations. I know it sounds a bit like science fiction, but it's biological fact. You can introduce this naturally occurring fungus into your environment, and it acts as a highly specialized predator. It precisely targets and neutralizes the pest population while leaving your actual plants totally unharmed. Pretty incredible, right?
Finally, for those severe infestations where your other methods just aren't cutting it, we escalate to Section 5, Chemical Treatments, Last Resort Options. Now, the absolutely crucial point for this tier is timing. These heavy-duty treatments must be applied specifically during the dry season peak. This is that critical, time-sensitive window when GLH populations surge and really require intervention. You do not want to just spray chemicals indiscriminately throughout the year. The data clearly shows that the green leafhopper population explodes during the dry season. That's your window. Intervening precisely when their numbers peak ensures maximum efficacy and minimizes unnecessary chemical use during the rest of your growing cycle. So when that dry season surge hits, what do you use? Your recommended chemical treatments for these peak infestations are abamectin and buprofezine. These are specific, data-backed solutions for managing a really critical GLH outbreak. They're potent for sure, but when applied correctly during that specific dry season window, they are going to effectively halt the hopper burn and protect your remaining yield. And as we wrap up this explainer, you are now officially armed with a complete tactical defense system. You know exactly how to identify the stealthy green leafhopper. You know how to read those hidden signs of sap drain and nutrient mimicry. And you've got a solid 3-tiered escalation plan covering cultural, biological, and chemical defenses. So the only question left is, with these 3 tiers of management, which line of defense will you implement in your fields this season? Stay observant, time your interventions wisely, and let's keep those crops thriving.